My son Marcus died in a desert in Kuwait. He was 28 years old. He left his baby girl $250,000 so she would never struggle. 11 years later, my granddaughter called me crying. Grandma, Mama says Daddy barely left a thing. Every dollar was gone. And the man who spent it was wearing my son's sacrifice on his wrist. They spent every dollar a dead soldier saved for his daughter. And I watched it happen. 8 years of watching. That is what I need you to understand. Not just what they stole, what I let them take because I was too afraid of being the bitter mother-in-law to open my mouth. This story is about what happened when I stopped being polite. My name is Odessa Mae Thornton. I was 65 years old the year everything came apart, living alone in a small brick house on Avenue F in Inslee, Birmingham. The same house my husband Walter and I bought in 1967. Walter worked the coke ovens at Fairfield Works for U.S. Steel until the smoke in those ovens settled in his lungs and took him from me in 1988, lung cancer. He was 51. I was 41 with 4 children and a mortgage and a husband who weighed 112 pounds the day he died. After Walter passed, I raised those 4 children on what I earned managing the cafeteria at UAB Hospital. 31 years I fed doctors and nurses in that building. I packed lunches at 4 a.m, caught the number 48 bus in the dark, and balanced the checkbook by candlelight when Alabama Power cut us off because I was 2 months behind. I never missed a shift, never called in sick, never asked anyone for a thing. I ate rice and cornbread for dinner so my children could have meat. I wore the same 2 pairs of work shoes until the heels went flat. I told my children the same words every morning before school. Nobody in this family begs. We work, we save, we build. Marcus was the one who listened hardest. My youngest boy enlisted in the United States Army at 19. He could have gone to Miles College on a partial scholarship, but Marcus said he wanted to serve. He wanted to earn something bigger than what Inslee could give him. He joined the 24th Infantry Division out of Fort Stewart, Georgia, and he became the kind of soldier they write commendations about. His commanding officer, Sergeant First Class Raymond Good, told me once that Marcus was the most deliberate young man he ever trained. Deliberate. That was the word he used. Not brave, not tough, deliberate. Marcus did not do anything by accident. In August of 1990, they deployed him to Saudi Arabia, Operation Desert Storm. He called me from a satellite phone 2 days before the ground offensive. I remember the static on the line and the sound of wind behind his voice. He said, Mom, if I don't come back, make sure Tiffany knows I loved her more than anything. I told him he was coming back. He said, promise me anyway. Dibble, I promised. February 1991. Marcus was killed in action at 28 years old. They flew his body home and buried him with full military honors at Elmwood Cemetery in Birmingham. White headstones in rows, a bugler playing taps across the field, and a sergeant who could barely hold himself together handed me a folded flag. I keep that flag in a cedar box on my bedroom dresser. I have touched it every morning for 11 years. Every single morning. Some mornings I just rest my hand on the lid. Some mornings I open it and press the fabric to my face, but I never skip a day. But Marcus was deliberate, like I said. Before he deployed, he sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I balanced the checkbook by candlelight, and he signed the papers for a trust at AmSouth Bank. $200,000 in service members group life insurance, a $6,000 military death gratuity, and $44,000 in personal savings, money Marcus put away by skipping meals and wearing the same boots until the soles cracked. He earned $1,400 a month in the Army, and he saved every extra penny in a desert 6,000 miles from home. The total came to approximately $250,000, all of it placed in a trust for his daughter, Tiffany Marie Thornton, to be released when she turned 18. And Marcus did one more thing. He named 2 trustees, Crystal, his wife, as primary and me as co-trustee. He looked me in the eye across that kitchen table and said, Mom, I put your name on there so nobody can touch that money without you knowing. He built in a safeguard because Marcus did not do anything by accident. Tiffany was 7 when her daddy died. She is the reason I am telling you this story. Crystal was Marcus's wife, 25 years old when she became a widow. I loved Crystal when Marcus first brought her home. She was sweet and nervous, and she called me Mrs. Thornton until I told her to stop. But grief does different things to different people. And Crystal's grief turned into something I did not recognize. She remarried in 1994, 3 years after Marcus died. His name was Ray Banks. 44 years old, substitute teacher at Huffman High School, making $22,000 a year. Drove to church in gold chains and Stacey Adams shoes and told people he was in real estate on the side. I asked Crystal once what Ray did in real estate. She changed the subject. My neighbor, Miss Johnny Pearl Dixon, 78 years old, retired school teacher, sharp as a razor. She leaned over the fence one Sunday and said, "Odessa, that man Ray ain't right." I told her to hush. I told myself Johnny was just being Johnny. But Johnny Pearl had been watching people from that porch for 40 years, and she was wrong about almost none of them. In 1999, Crystal and Ray bought a 4-bedroom house in Hoover. Paid cash, $165,000. Crystal answered phones part-time at a dentist's office in Homewood. Ray substitute taught. I stood in the driveway of that new house looking at the double garage and the landscaped yard, and I thought, what real estate deals? What money is paying for this? I said nothing. I told myself it was not my place. In 2001, Ray pulled up to my house on Avenue F, driving a brand new Cadillac Escalade, $48,000 worth of truck, and the man made $22,000 a year. I watched him step out of that Escalade in his pressed shirt and his gold watch, and I thought, that truck costs more than twice what he earns. I said nothing. Then Crystal started erasing my son. She took down Marcus's photographs. One by one, they disappeared from the walls of that Hoover house until there was only one left in Tiffany's bedroom, a picture of Marcus in desert camouflage, smiling, holding a Polaroid camera. Crystal stopped taking Tiffany to the cemetery. I took her instead. Every Memorial Day and every February 26th, just the two of us standing at that headstone. Crystal stopped saying Marcus's name at dinner. She told Tiffany her daddy was a good man, but he was not much of a planner, that he did not leave much. When I asked about the photographs, Crystal said Ray thought it was unhealthy for Tiffany to dwell. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. She hid his medals, his Bronze Star, and his Army Commendation Medal, and his Southwest Asia Service Medal. Somewhere I could not find them. And she hid a sealed letter Marcus wrote to Tiffany before he deployed, a letter addressed in his own handwriting that said, "To be opened on your 18th birthday." I did not know about the letter then. But Crystal knew. She hid it with the medals, and she never said a word. And then Crystal and Ray had a baby, a little boy born in 1997. They named him Marcus Ray Banks Jr., named him Marcus after my dead son while they were spending my dead son's money. Ray called the boy Little Ray. The child did not know he was named after a soldier who died in a desert. He just knew his daddy drove a Cadillac. Then Ray went to work on the distance between me and my grandbaby. For 2 years, 1999 to 2001, Ray Banks poisoned that child's mind against me. He told Tiffany I blamed her mother for Marcus dying. He told her I was bitter and controlling. He told her calling me would start a fight. He said, "Your grandmother's stuck in the past. She cannot let go of your daddy, and it is making her bitter." Drip by drip, comment by comment, until Tiffany stopped calling on Sundays, stopped coming to Memorial Day visits at the cemetery, stopped asking about the flag in the cedar box. When I called the house, Ray answered, "She's busy, Miss Thornton. I'll tell her you called." She never called back. 2 years of silence between me and Marcus's daughter, and I let it happen. I blamed myself. I told myself, Maybe I was too controlling. Maybe Crystal needed space to raise her own child. Maybe I needed to step back and let go. I have regretted many things in my 65 years, but nothing sits on my chest like those 8 years I spent being polite. I watched every sign. The house I could not explain, the truck that cost more than his salary, the photographs coming down, the medals vanishing, the cemetery visits stopping, and I bit my tongue because I was terrified of being the bitter mother-in-law, the overbearing grandmother who could not let her dead son rest. I was so worried about being difficult that I let them rob my grandbaby blonde. That silence cost Tiffany $250,000. I will carry that the rest of my life. Then, February of 2002, Marcus's death anniversary, my phone rang on a Tuesday night. Tiffany. She had not called in months. Her voice was small and careful, like she was testing whether the line was safe. Grandma? Baby. I could barely get the word out. Grandma, I am sorry I have not called. Ray said you were angry with Mama. He said you blamed her for Daddy dying. He said you did not want to talk to me. I gripped that phone so hard my knuckles ached. Tiffany, I have never blamed your mama for Marcus dying, and I have never, not for one single day, not wanted to talk to you. Ray lied to you. He has been lying to you. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I called because today is the day Daddy died, and I wanted to talk to someone who remembers him. That phone call cracked the wall Ray spent 2 years building. After that, Tiffany started calling every Sunday again. We talked about Marcus. I told her stories Ray and Crystal never did, about how her daddy threw her in the air at the park and caught her every time, about how he laughed so loud the neighbors on Avenue F complained, about how he sat at my kitchen table and signed those trust papers with hands that shook because he knew he might not come home. I could hear the hunger in her voice. That girl was starving for her father, and the people she lived with had been feeding her silence. 7 months later, September of 2002, the phone rang again. A Wednesday night, not her usual Sunday. And Tiffany was whispering, Grandma, can I ask you something? You can ask me anything, baby. Daddy's trust, the money he left me. How much was it? I went still. Why are you asking? Because I turn 18 next month. And Mama said there is not much in it. She said Daddy was not good with money and he barely left anything. Maybe $10,000 or $15,000. And Grandma, this spring when I was filling out college applications, Mama told me there is no money for college. She said I would need to get scholarships or work my way through. She told me that to my face. I could hear her breathing on the other end of that line. I could hear the house quiet around her. That big Hoover house that cost $165,000 in cash. The house where a substitute teacher parked his $48,000 truck in the driveway every night. Baby, your daddy left you $250,000. He set it up before he deployed. I watched him sign the papers at my kitchen table. Silence. 10 seconds that felt like 10 years. What? $250,000, Tiffany? Life insurance, death benefits, and every dollar he saved from his military pay. It is in a trust at AmSouth Bank. Your mama knows exactly how much is in there because she is the trustee. My granddaughter was quiet. I could hear her trying to breathe, then very small like a child who has just learned the world is not what she thought it was. She said, Grandma, if Daddy left $250,000, where is it? I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus signed those trust papers, the same table where I balanced the checkbook by candlelight. I looked across the room at the bedroom door, the room where Marcus grew up, the room with the cedar box on the dresser, holding a folded flag that a sergeant handed me with shaking hands. And I thought about every sign I had ignored, every question I had swallowed, every year I had wasted being polite while they erased my son and spent his blood money on a house and a truck and a lifestyle. 8 years of silence, 8 years of telling myself it was not my place. And a 17-year-old girl on the other end of this phone who just learned that everything she was told about her dead father was a lie. No more being polite. No more biting my tongue. Marcus put my name on that trust for a reason. That is what I am going to find out. The next Saturday, I drove to Hoover. Crystal worked Saturday mornings at the dentist's office. Ray was out doing whatever he called real estate meetings. I pulled up to that 4-bedroom house and looked at it the way I should have looked at it 3 years ago. $165,000 in cash, a part-time receptionist and a substitute teacher. I sat in my car and let that math burn. Tiffany was waiting at the front door. I took her to Nikki's West on Finley Avenue, catfish and collard greens. I waited until we had our food. Then I laid it out. Baby, I believe your mom and Ray spent your trust money. I cannot prove it yet, but I need your help. She put her fork down. What do you need me to do? You live in that house. You see things I cannot see. I need you to be my eyes and ears. Search Ray's desk. Look in your mama's closet, wherever she keeps papers. But you have to be careful. Do not let them know you are looking. Can you do that? Her jaw was tight. Her eyes were wet, but she was not crying. She was angry. Daddy left that money for me. If they took it, I want to know. I reached across that table and took my granddaughter's hand. Your daddy was the bravest man I ever raised. You are his daughter. Now prove it. I drove her back to Hoover before Crystal got home, and Tiffany Marie Thornton went to work. She searched after school while Crystal was at the dentist's office and Ray was at his meetings. Methodical. She did not tear through drawers or leave things out of place. She searched the way I taught her to balance a checkbook, one line at a time, careful, deliberate, like her daddy. The first week she found the deed. It was in Ray's desk drawer underneath old substitute teaching schedules. The deed to the Hoover house. Purchased November 1999. Price $165,000. Cash. Buyers. Crystal Banks and Raymond Banks. Tiffany Marie Thornton's name appeared nowhere. She lived in that house, slept in a bedroom in that house, and her name was not on it. She called me that night. Grandma, I found the deed, $165,000 cash, just Mama and Ray's names. I am not on it. I closed my eyes. $165,000 in cash. Your mama answers phones at a dentist's office. Ray substitute teachers. Where did they get that kind of money? We both knew. But know and improving are two different things. And I had been a fool once by staying quiet. I was not going to be a fool twice by moving too fast. Keep looking, baby, but be careful. That Sunday, Miss Johnny Pearl came over from next door. She sat down in the chair Walter used to sit in and looked at me sideways the way she does when she has been carrying something. Odessa, I've been meaning to say something to you. Say it, Johnny. Last month at the Greater Birmingham Ministerial Conference, I ran into a woman named Alma Watkins from Montgomery. I mentioned Ray's name. Alma got quiet. Then she said, my sister Denise was married to a Ray Banks. She said, he spent everything her first husband left and walked out. Johnny Pearl leaned forward on her cane. Odessa, you need to look into that man. Another widow. Another dead husband's money. A man who married a widow and moved into what she inherited. And now Johnny Pearl was telling me Crystal was not the first. Johnny, I am already looking. I filed that name away. Denise Watkins, Montgomery. I was not ready to chase that thread yet. First, I needed the numbers, but I do not forget names, and I do not forget warnings from women who have been watching people from their porches for 40 years. The second week, Tiffany found the bank statements. They were in Crystal's closet, in a shoebox on the top shelf behind old purses. AmSouth Bank trust account statements, quarterly. Tiffany sat on Crystal's closet floor and opened the box. The most recent statement, June 2002. Balance, $347.12. She flipped back. March 1997, $248,000. Then the withdrawals started. $30,000, $25,000, $40,000, $48,000. Page after page, the numbers falling like a staircase going down into nothing. $250,000 turned into $347.12 in 5 years. She called me that night. Her voice was different, not scared, angry, the kind of angry that comes from deeper than tears. Grandma, there is $347 left, $347.12 out of $250,000. I have all the statements, every single withdrawal. I gripped the phone. My hand was shaking, but my voice was not. Copy those statements, baby. Every page. Take them to the library copy machine. Put the originals back exactly the way you found them. Same order. Same position. Yes, ma'am. And Tiffany, yes, ma'am. You are doing this right. Your daddy would be proud of you. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I am not done looking. I did not know yet what she would find in that third week. I did not know that the thing waiting in the closet and that attic would be worse than stolen money. I did not know that Crystal had not just taken what Marcus left. She had removed the lock he built to protect it. The third week, Tiffany found 3 things. Each one was worse than the last. First, in the same shoebox, folded underneath the quarterly reports, a notarized document. A trustee amendment dated January 1997, 1 page. It removed Odessa Mae Thornton as co-trustee of the Marcus W. Thornton Trust, leaving Crystal as sole trustee. The notary stamp was from a mailboxes, etc. in Bessemer. Tiffany did not understand the legal language, but she understood one thing. My name was supposed to be on that trust. Marcus put it there, and someone took it off. The signature on that line was not mine. Tiffany had seen my handwriting on birthday cards every year of her life. That was a forgery. Crystal did not stumble into spending that money. She planned it. She went to a strip mall in Bessemer, put a fake signature on a legal document, had it notarized by someone who never met me, and submitted it to AmSouth Bank. She removed the lock before she walked through the door. January 1997. The first big withdrawal was March 1997. 2 months later, premeditated. Then Tiffany went to the attic. She knew Marcus's things had disappeared from the house over the years, the photographs, the medals, and they had to be somewhere. Behind the Christmas ornaments, she found a cardboard box. She opened it. Marcus's medals, the Bronze Star, the Army Commendation Medal, the Southwest Asia Service Medal, in a dark attic next to a plastic Santa Claus and a tangle of old lights. My son earned that Bronze Star in a sandstorm in Kuwait, and they stored it next to the Christmas decorations like it was something nobody wanted anymore. Underneath the medals, a sealed envelope, Tiffany's name on the front in Marcus's handwriting. Tiffany Marie Thornton, to be opened on your 18th birthday. The seal was unbroken. 11 years Crystal kept that letter and never gave it to her daughter. She hid it with the medals and the memory of a man she wanted to erase. Tiffany sat in that attic holding her father's Bronze Star in one hand and his letter in the other. She did not open it. It said 18th birthday and she was 17. Even sitting in an attic full of lies, that girl respected her father's wishes. She held the envelope to her chest and cried. Then she wiped her face and picked up the phone. Grandma, I found a paper that says they took your name off the trust. Some kind of amendment from 1997. They forged it, Grandma. That is not your signature. My chest went cold. Marcus put my name on that trust at my kitchen table. He looked me in the eye and said nobody could touch that money without me knowing. And Crystal walked into a mailboxes, etc., and took my name off with a pen that was not mine. No, baby, I did not know that. And Grandma, I found Daddy's medals in the attic, in a box behind the Christmas ornaments, and a letter he wrote me. They hid his Bronze Star like it was nothing. I was quiet for a long time. When I spoke, my voice was not shaking anymore. It was iron. Bring me those bank statements, baby. Bring me that forged paper and bring me your daddy's letter. I will keep it safe until your birthday. Your daddy wrote that letter in a desert 6,000 miles from home, and Crystal Banks is not going to be the one who decides when you read it. I called my oldest son the next morning. Walter Jr., 47, accountant at Alabama Power. Quiet man, methodical. The kind of man who reads bank statements the way some people read novels. I told him to come to my house and bring his calculator. Junior sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus signed those trust papers, and I spread the copied statements out in front of him. 5 years of withdrawals laid out across the same linoleum where I used to help Marcus with his homework. Junior traced every dollar. He did not need payee names. He matched the amounts to what we already knew. $165,000. Cashier's check, November 1999. That was the house in Hoover. Tiffany found the deed. $48,000 wire transfer, early 2001. That was the Escalade parked in Ray's driveway. $12,000 in checks spread across 2000 and 2001. Furniture, electronics. Junior matched the timing to when Crystal redecorated the Hoover house. $8,500 in checks to what looked like a travel agency. I remember Crystal posting photographs from Disney World in 2000 and from a cruise ship in 2001. $7,500 in ATM withdrawals and department store checks. Ray's clothes, Ray's jewelry, Ray's gold watch that I now knew was not gold. It was a Rolex. $9,000 in checks to a caterer, a disc jockey, and the Bessemer Civic Center. Tiffany's Sweet 16 party, the one expenditure that was partly for her. $9,000 out of $250,000, and they threw a party with the child's own money and told her it was a gift. Junior added it up. He looked at me. He did not blink. Mama, they spent $250,000 in 5 years on a house, a truck, furniture, vacations, clothes, and a watch. Not $1 went toward Tiffany's education. Not $1 went toward her future. Not $1 went toward anything Marcus intended. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that put iron in my spine. Mama, do you know how Marcus saved that $44,000? He made $1,400 a month. He skipped meals. He wore the same boots until they fell apart. He saved every extra penny in a desert in Saudi Arabia so his daughter would have a start. 4 years of discipline in a war zone. Crystal and Ray spent it in 5 years on a Cadillac and a cruise to the Bahamas. I said, the sweet 9,000 out of 250,000. And they threw a party with the child's own money and called it a gift. That is not generosity, Mama. That is a costume. I looked at those numbers spread across my kitchen table, and I saw my son's life reduced to line items. Every dollar he bled for, accounted for, and spent by people who never earned a penny of it. A substitute teacher in a Cadillac, a receptionist in a 4-bedroom house, and a 17-year-old girl who was told there was no money for college. What can we do? Junior did not hesitate. We need Reggie Tate. Reginald Tate, 48 years old, elder law and estate attorney with an office on 4th Avenue North in Birmingham's historic black business district. His father marched with Reverend Shuttlesworth in 1963. Reggie grew up in the movement. He took cases that mattered. Junior called him that afternoon. By the end of the week, we were sitting in Reggie's office with the copied bank statements, the forged trustee amendment, and the deed information Tiffany had written down. Reggie read everything. His face did not change. Then he looked at me and said 5 words that changed everything. This is a criminal case, he explained. Crystal forged a legal document to remove my name, had it notarized fraudulently, and submitted it to AmSouth Bank. Forgery in the 1st degree, Class C felony. Then she drained $250,000 from a trust for a minor child. Theft of property, 1st degree, Class B felony. And if Ray participated, he was an accessory. Mrs. Thornton, your son built a safeguard. He named you co-trustee deliberately. Crystal removed the lock he put in place before she opened the door. That is premeditation. My son died for that money, Mr. Tate. He died in a desert wearing this country's uniform, and a substitute teacher spent it on a Rolex. Reggie set the papers down carefully, like they were evidence, because they were. I will take this case on contingency from recovered trust funds. We will file to remove Crystal as trustee, force a full accounting, and pursue restitution. And I am referring this to the Jefferson County District Attorney for criminal prosecution. When do we start? We already did. I drove home that evening with the windows down and the Birmingham air coming through warm and thick. I had a team now. Tiffany inside the house, Junior behind the numbers, Reggie Tate behind the law. And somewhere in Montgomery, a woman named Denise Watkins, who might be carrying a story about Ray Banks that nobody had heard yet. They had no idea what was coming. Crystal was still answering phones at the dentist's office. Ray was still driving that Escalade. They went to bed every night in a house bought with the dead soldier's money, and they slept just fine. They did not know their bank statements had been copied. They did not know an accountant had traced every withdrawal and an attorney had called it criminal. They thought Odessa Mae Thornton was still the quiet grandmother on Avenue F who minded her own business and touched a flag in a cedar box every morning and said nothing. They were about to find out what that grandmother could do. Reggie had the bank statements, the forged amendment, and the deed, but before he filed, I told him one more name: Denise Watkins, Montgomery. Reggie wrote it down. Huh? If this man has done this before, that changes everything. A pattern makes this a predator case, not a domestic dispute. I went home that evening and called Johnny Pearl. Johnny called Alma Watkins at the number she had from the ministerial conference. Alma called me back within the hour. You need to talk to my sister Denise, Alma said. She has been carrying this a long time. Denise Watkins answered on the third ring. Her voice was careful, the way people sound when they have been hurt by trusting too quickly. I told her my name. I told her my son died in Kuwait. I told her his daughter's trust was gone. Then I said the name Ray Banks. The line went quiet. Then Denise said, he did the same thing to me. Her first husband, Larry, died at an iron foundry in Montgomery in 1989. Workplace accident, Larry's life insurance paid $90,000. Denise was 29 with 2 small children. Ray Banks appeared in 1991. Charming, attentive, drove a nice car and wore nice clothes and said he was in real estate. Same words, same clothes, same lie. By 1993, Ray had spent $60,000 of that insurance money. A car for himself, furniture, jewelry, trips. When Denise confronted him, he left. 1994, packed a bag and drove to Birmingham. 3 years later, he married Crystal. I was ashamed, Denise said. I never pressed charges. I thought it was my fault for letting him in. It was not your fault, and he did it again, to a dead soldier's daughter. She was quiet. Then she said, if you need me to testify, I will. I have been carrying this for 10 years. I do not want another woman to feel what I felt. I called Reggie the next morning. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, I am adding a predatory pattern to the criminal referral. This man targets bereaved women and spends their dead husband's money. The DA needs to know this is not his first time. The case was no longer about Crystal's greed. It was about a man who made a living off widows and a woman who helped him do it with her own daughter's inheritance. 2 weeks after the meeting at Reggie's office, Crystal showed up at my house on Avenue F. No phone call, no warning. She knocked on my screen door at 6:30 on a Tuesday evening and walked in before I could answer. She had noticed Tiffany pulling away, cold at dinner, avoiding eye contact, spending hours in her room instead of watching television with the family. Crystal did not know about the investigation. She thought I was poisoning her daughter against her. Odessa, I need you to stop filling that girl's head with your bitterness. I was standing at my kitchen counter. I did not move. You cannot let Marcus go. You never could. And now you are dragging Tiffany into your grief. I said nothing. She kept talking. Her voice got louder. She paced across my kitchen past the table where Marcus signed those trust papers, and she said the words I will hear for the rest of my life. Marcus is gone, Odessa. He has been gone for 11 years. He is a flag in a box. That is all he is now, a flag in a box on your dresser. And you need to stop making that girl worship a dead man who is never coming back. A flag in a box. My son who saved every penny in a desert, who called me from a satellite phone to say, take care of his baby, who signed papers at my kitchen table with shaking hands because he knew he might not come home, who earned a bronze star in a sandstorm in Kuwait, a flag in a box. Something shifted inside my chest, not breaking. I had broken months ago when I saw $347. This was different. This was something setting, concrete hardening in a place that used to be soft. I looked at Crystal standing in my kitchen, the kitchen where I balanced the checkbook by candlelight, the kitchen where Marcus grew up eating rice and cornbread so I could keep the lights on, and I saw her clearly for the first time. Not my daughter-in-law, not Marcus's widow, a woman who forged my name, stole my granddaughter's future, hid my son's medals in an attic, and just called him a flag in a box in the room where he learned to be a man. There was nothing left to say between us, not one thing. Get out of my house, Crystal. She left. She thought she had won. She had no idea what she had just done. 3 days later, Crystal went to her closet for something and pulled down the shoebox. The statements were in a slightly different order. The forged amendment was not folded the same way. She called Ray. Ray checked his desk. His drawer was not quite closed. His substitute teaching schedules were shifted. They sat in that Hoover kitchen and looked at each other. Somebody had been looking through their things. They did not know it was Tiffany. They did not know what had been copied. They did not know that an accountant had traced every dollar and an attorney had called it criminal, and a woman in Montgomery had agreed to testify about what Ray did before. They just knew someone had been in their hiding place. And for the first time since they spent my son's money, Crystal and Ray Banks were afraid. I called Reggie the morning after Crystal left my house. My voice was steady. My hands were still. Everything I needed to say fit into 2 words. File everything. File. Reggie filed on a Monday, petition to restore my co-trustee status, petition on behalf of Tiffany as beneficiary, emergency motion to freeze the Hoover House and the Escalade, criminal referral to the Jefferson County District Attorney with every document, every statement, and Denise Watkins' name attached. He subpoenaed AmSouth Bank for the official trust records. The copies Tiffany made told us what happened. The bank's own records would prove it in court. Crystal was served at the dentist's office on a Wednesday afternoon, papers handed to her in front of the waiting room. Ray was served at Huffman High during third period. 2 men in suits walked into a substitute teacher's classroom. That night, Tiffany heard them through the floor vent in her bedroom. Crystal was screaming. Ray was pacing. She could hear his shoes on the kitchen tile. She has been looking through our things, Crystal said. The shoebox, the statements. She found everything. Then Ray said the words that changed what happened next. We need to leave Birmingham. Tiffany wrote it in her journal. Every word, the way I taught her, document everything. Next morning, Crystal left early. Little Ray was watching cartoons in the living room. Tiffany was in the kitchen when Ray walked in. He did not sit down. He stood over her and grabbed the back of her chair and tilted it. You have been running your mouth, he said. Keep it shut, you hear me? Keep your mouth shut. A grown man leaning over a 17-year-old girl, tilting her chair with a 5-year-old in the next room. Tiffany did not cry. She waited until Ray left for school. Then she called me. Grandma, Ray knows. He came at me this morning. He tilted my chair. I am scared. I was in my car in 4 minutes. Hoover and 28. Tiffany was at the front door with a duffel bag. I drove her home to Avenue F. She slept in Marcus's old bedroom that night, the room where her father grew up. I called Reggie that evening. Restraining order and add witness intimidation to the criminal charges. Reggie said, that man just handed us another felony. October 2002. Tiffany turned 18. I did not throw a party. I drove her to Elmwood Cemetery, just the 2 of us. We stood at Marcus's headstone in the morning sun, and I handed her the envelope, her father's handwriting. Tiffany Marie Thornton, to be opened on your 18th birthday. She opened it with steady hands. She read it aloud. Baby girl, if you are reading this, I did not make it home. I need you to know 3 things. 1, I set up a trust for you at AmSouth Bank, $250,000. It is in your name. Your grandmother is on the account to protect it. 2, I did this because I am your father and a father plans for his child even if he cannot be there. 3, you are the best thing I ever did. Go to college, build something, live the life I wanted to give you. I love you more than anything in this world. Daddy. She folded the letter against her chest and pressed her forehead to the headstone. I put my hand on her shoulder and let her cry. A father who planned everything, a mother who stole everything, and a letter that proved which one loved her. Crystal and Ray hired a lawyer named Morris Pitts. Bessemer, cut rate, flat fee. He filed a fabricated accounting with the court. $80,000 for board, $65,000 for medical expenses, $60,000 for savings reallocation. Numbers pulled from air. Junior demolished it in one afternoon. He laid the fabricated accounting next to the subpoenaed AmSouth records. The bank showed checks to Jim Burke Cadillac, Rooms to Go, a travel agency in Hoover. There were no medical expenses for a healthy teenager on school insurance. There was no savings reallocation account. There was nothing. Ada Terrence Woodall reviewed the criminal referral. He filed charges against both of them. Forgery, 1st degree. Theft of property, 1st degree. Conspiracy. Witness intimidation. A handwriting expert compared the forged trustee amendment to my real signature from the original trust documents at AmSouth. The signature on the amendment, she said, was written by a different hand. Crystal was arrested at the dentist's office, same waiting room where they handed her the papers. Ray was arrested at Huffman High, 2 squad cars at a high school. A social worker from Jefferson County took temporary custody of little Ray that afternoon. The trial lasted 4 days. Day 1, Junior took the stand. He walked the jury through every withdrawal, every dollar traced to a specific purchase. $165,000 to the house, $48,000 to the Escalade, $12,000 to furniture, $8,500 to vacations, $7,500 to clothes and jewelry, $9,000 to a Sweet 16 party thrown with the child's own money. The AmSouth trust officer testified that she accepted the forged amendment in 1997 and processed every withdrawal Crystal requested. The handwriting expert repeated her finding. Different hand. Day 2. Denise Watkins took the stand. She came from Montgomery. She told the jury about Larry, her first husband, who died at an iron foundry. The $90,000 in life insurance. The charming man who appeared in 1991 drove a nice car, said he was in real estate. His name was Ray Banks. The jury looked at Ray. Ray did not look back. He spent $60,000 of her dead husband's money in 2 years and left. Same words, same clothes, same lie. Then Sergeant First Class Raymond Good took the stand, retired. He had handed me the flag at Elmwood Cemetery 11 years before. He told the jury that Marcus was the most deliberate young man he ever trained, that Marcus set up the trust before deployment because he wanted his daughter protected, that a soldier who saves $44,000 on $1,400 a month does not do that by accident. Day 3. Now, Tiffany took the stand. 18 years old. She told the jury about the deed in Ray's desk, the bank statements in the shoebox, the forged amendment underneath, the medals hidden behind Christmas ornaments, the letter she was never given, the floor vent, the journal. Ray tilting her chair with a 5-year-old in the next room. Then she read her father's letter into the court record. Every word. I did this because I am your father and a father plans for his child even if he cannot be there. 3 jurors were crying. The foreman looked at Crystal and did not blink. Day 4. Crystal took the stand. She cried. She said she was overwhelmed. She said the money was used for the family. Morris Pitts argued good faith. Ray took the stand. He said he treated Tiffany like his own daughter. Ada Woodall stood up. He looked at Ray, then at Crystal. Then he said the words that ended it. Your name is on everything, the house, the truck, the Rolex, the bank accounts, every purchase, every withdrawal, every dollar. Your name is on everything, he paused. Hers is on nothing. Morris Pitt said nothing. There was nothing to say. Guilty. all counts, both defendants. Judge Patricia Ann Coleman read the sentences. Crystal Thornton Banks, forgery in the first degree, theft of property in the first degree, 8 years. Crystal grabbed the edge of the defense table. Her lawyer touched her arm. She did not look at me. Raymond Banks, theft of property in the first degree, conspiracy, witness intimidation, enhanced sentencing based on a demonstrated pattern of predatory behavior targeting bereaved women, 12 years. Ray sat motionless, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the table. He did not look at the jury. He did not look at Denise Watkins. He did not look at the girl whose chair he tilted. The courtroom was quiet. I sat in the second row behind Reggie Tate. Junior was on my left. Tiffany was on my right. I did not stand. I did not speak. I did not cry. I just breathed. One long breath that I had been holding for 11 years. My son was deliberate. His mother was patient. And the law did what the law is supposed to do. The criminal court ordered full restitution, $250,000. The civil petition resolved itself. Crystal, now a convicted felon, consented to removal as trustee rather than fight a second proceeding she could not win. Reggie handled both. I signed the papers and went home. Then the seizures began. The Hoover house sold for $172,000. The Escalade was seized and auctioned for $31,000 after the lien. Ray's Rolex, the one he bought with a dead soldier's savings, brought $4,800 at auction. Personal property, the furniture, the electronics, the things they filled the house with, brought another $8,200. Total recovered approximately $216,000. The remaining $34,000 would follow Crystal and Ray as debt for the rest of their lives. The house they bought with my son's money had someone else's name on the deed now. The truck Ray drove to my house on Avenue F was sitting in a government impound lot. And the watch he wore on his wrist while he told my granddaughter there was no money for college was in an evidence bag in a courthouse basement. I did not celebrate. I drove home to Avenue F after the last hearing, and I pulled into the driveway, and I sat in my car for a long time. Then I went inside. I locked the front door. I walked past Marcus's bedroom where Tiffany was staying. I walked past the dresser with the cedar box. I went into the kitchen and I sat down at the table, the same table where Marcus signed those trust papers, the same table where Junior laid out the bank statements, the same table where I bounced the checkbook by candlelight after Walter died. And I cried. Not the kind of crying I did when Marcus died. Not that animal sound that comes from somewhere below your ribs. This was quieter. This was 11 years of holding my breath, finally leaving my body. My hands were flat on the table and the tears just came steady and warm, rolling down my face and dropping onto the linoleum. I did not wipe them. I did not make a sound. I just let them fall. Relief does not feel the way you think it will. It does not feel like winning. It feels like setting down something so heavy you forgot you were carrying it. I sat there until the light through the kitchen window turned from gold to gray. Then I washed my face, made a pot of coffee, and called Reggie Tate about little Ray. The boy was 5 years old. Both his parents were going to prison. Crystal had no family to take him. Her mother was deceased, no siblings in Birmingham. Ray had nobody. A social worker from Jefferson County had been keeping that child since the day they arrested Crystal and Ray, and that boy had been sleeping in a stranger's house, wondering where his mama went. I told Reggie to file the petition. He asked me if I was sure. I said, that boy did not steal anything. That boy is named Marcus. The court granted temporary custody within 2 weeks. No competing claims, stable home, retired grandmother with a paid-off house on Avenue F. Judge Coleman signed the order herself. The first night little Ray slept in my house, Tiffany sat on the edge of the bed in Marcus's old room and read him a story. He was small and scared, and he kept asking when his mama was coming home. Tiffany looked at me across the hall. I nodded. She looked back at that little boy and said, I am your big sister, and I am not going anywhere. That girl is her father's daughter, and she is her grandmother's granddaughter. Reggie set up the new trust at Am South the following month. Odessa Mae Thornton, sole trustee. Ironclad protections, dual signatures required for any withdrawal over $500, quarterly audits, everything Marcus would have built if he had lived long enough to learn what Crystal did. The recovered $216,000 went in, not the full $250,000, but enough to do what Marcus intended. The months passed the way months do when the fight is finally over. Tiffany enrolled at Alabama A&M in Huntsville that January. Criminal justice. She said she wanted to understand how the system works so she could make it work for people like us. She drove to campus in a used Honda Civic that cost $4,000. She opened a savings account with her own name on it. Her father's money was paying for textbooks and tuition in a dormitory room with a window that faced east. Exactly what he wanted. Exactly what he died for. I took Marcus's medals to a veteran craftsman at the Birmingham VA Medical Center. He mounted them in a walnut shadow box with a brass plate that read, Specialist Marcus W. Thornton, 24th Infantry Division, Operation Desert Storm, 1963 to 1991. I hung that box in my living room above the couch where my children used to sit and watch Saturday cartoons. The bronze star that Crystal hid behind a plastic Santa Claus now catches the morning light every day where it belongs. February 26th, 2003, 1 year after Tiffany's phone call cracked the wall, 12 years after Marcus died. I drove to Elmwood Cemetery alone, a Tuesday morning. Cold but clear, the kind of Birmingham winter day where the sky is so blue it hurts. I sat on the stone bench next to his headstone. I told him everything. Tiffany is at Alabama A&M. She is studying criminal justice. She read your letter. She knows who you were. Crystal is serving 8 years. Ray is serving 12. The money is back where you put it. Little Ray is sleeping in your old bedroom, and Tiffany reads him stories at night. Then I said the only thing I came to say. I kept my promise, Marcus. I sat there a while longer. I touched the top of his headstone the way I touched the cedar box every morning. Then I drove home. Crystal sent a letter from Tutwiler Prison 6 months into her sentence. 2 pages. I read it once. I put it in my nightstand drawer, not the cedar box. The cedar box holds a folded flag that a sergeant handed me with shaking hands. Nothing else goes in there. Nothing else has earned it. That evening, I walked next door to Johnny Pearl's porch. She was already sitting in her chair with 2 glasses of sweet tea sweating on the railing. WJLD was playing low on the radio, something by Bobby Blue Bland that I had heard 100 times. The streetlights on Avenue F were just coming on. I could see my house from her porch, the same small brick house I bought with Walter in 1967. The shadow box with Marcus's medals was visible through the living room window, catching the last of the light. Johnny Pearl handed me my glass. I sat down. She did not ask me how the cemetery was. She already knew. After a while, she said, "You did what Marcus's mama would do." I sipped my tea and watched the streetlights come on one by one down Avenue F. The radio played. The evening was warm for February. Somewhere inside my house, Tiffany was reading Little Ray a bedtime story in the room where her father grew up. I learned something in those 11 months between Tiffany's phone call and that courtroom. Being polite is not the same as being protective. Silence is not peace. Impatience is not weakness when you are using it to build a case. My son was deliberate. His mother learned to be. The tea was sweet. The porch was quiet. And for the first time in 12 years, I was not holding my breath.